They're talking about Plantinga's argument. If you guys don't know Plantinga's argument, the evolutionary argument against basically truth, which let's see if I can get it up to 1.5 here, because this is going to be, these people just are fart sniffers, right? They just draw everything out. So Alex Malpass is going to present it. Now, for those of you guys don't know the background here, the argument, if evolution was true, which is just, hold on, speaking of evolution.
Instead of a drink, how about a bowl of my famous foot-cooked curry?
Ew, foot-cooked curry? Why does that have such a ring to it, but it's still gross, but it sounds right. Okay, the evolutionary argument. Plantinga's basically saying, well, evolution gears itself toward incidental survival and not truth. Truth is more metaphysics. We're talking about philosophy here. Naturalism doesn't gear itself toward truth claims. It's just whatever survives, whatever can survive. Lying survives, then you value lying, right? Whatever it is. And he's going to give this argument. Notice that these guys, none of them, and Alex Malpass knows the argument that I've sort of refined to states of affairs. It's even a more brutal expression of Plantinga's argument. It's Plantinga's argument still granted that truth was available. That's a mistake from Plantinga. The truth of the matter is, if evolution was true in the way they describe it, truth itself is inaccessible. It's not just that the natural processes called evolution don't value or gear the processes toward truth. It's that it's not even possible. Truth is not possible from the evolutionary view.
Against naturalism. Yeah, okay, so this is like one of Plantinga's sort of biggest, most notable arguments, I think. And it has what I think of as a kind of characteristic Plantingan kind of conclusion, which is that the thing on the question is self-defeating. I think that happens a lot. That I don't know, it's like he likes that type of argument to show that the thing he doesn't like is self-defeating. And here we find that directed towards naturalism, or at least more specifically the belief that naturalism and evolution is true. So very briefly, the way the argument works is that...
You see how silly it is? The belief that naturalism is true, beliefs themselves, they always grant themselves these things. Oh, I have a belief? No. If naturalism is true, a belief is merely an epiphenomenal effect of physics and biology and neurology and chemistry. So chemistry, that's what a belief is, chemistry. How can chemistry, Alex Malpass, and you still haven't confronted me on this. I called you out directly on your channel, in your comments. If, from a naturalistic view, Alex Malpass, if your beliefs and your evaluations and everything you utter out of your face hole, if it's merely physical effects of chemistry, how can effects of chemistry be false or true? Can you tell me that? Tell me. You can't.
Something like this, right? If naturalism and evolution are true, then what that means is that your cognitive faculties were formed via a process that was aimed towards survival and adaptability, rather than a process that was designed to pick out truths. And then the thought is, I guess, would be like premise two would be something like, but if your beliefs were formed via a process that was aimed at survival rather than truth, then you should think that the probability that they're mostly reliable is either low or inscrutable, which means you can't really figure out what the number would be.
You see what I'm saying? This is the biggest problem with you guys. All of you. You all suffer from the same problem. You just grant yourself evaluations as if, from a naturalistic view, they wouldn't be necessarily put in the same category as all other physical phenomenon.
But then if you think that
it's got some caterpillars, yeah.
Your reasoning faculties being reliable is either low probability or the sort of thing you can't assign a number to, then you should distrust any beliefs that you've generated using those cognitive faculties. So it provides a kind of skepticism that undermines your beliefs about everything.
See, this is why I say Plantinga didn't take it far enough. He was just very gracious to the opposition and be like, well, I'll grant you guys evaluative processes and I'll grant you that truth is accessible. He shouldn't have done that.
But in general, about everything, but in particular also your belief that naturalism and evolution is true in the first place. So you kind of like start off with the argument by supposing naturalism and evolution is true, go through a couple of sort of plausible looking steps, and then you think to yourself, I actually have a reason to now not believe the thing that I started off with.
No, Alex, you're still not getting it, buddy. If naturalism was true, then your beliefs, everything you thought was true. If naturalism was in fact true, you believing naturalism is true or false couldn't be knowable anyway. It would just be an effect. You understand?
And then Plantinga thinks that what we should say about this is that the belief that in naturalism and evolution is a kind of epistemically unstable thing. You could try and believe it if you want to, but actually the more you grapple with it, the more you realize that like you can't really sort of hold on to any certainty in that anymore. It undermines itself, which is, as I said at the beginning, kind of the signature Plantingan move to say that this thing undermines itself.
Yeah, it does. So that's a good steel man of Plantinga from Alex Malpass, but he still doesn't get the problem, right? So what are we actually talking about? What is naturalism? Well, this guy naturally definitely had every COVID vaccine clearly by his face.
And there is, in fact, a definition he offers for naturalism, which I like.
People are done with naturalism, by the way.
The bones in the sand make all this real. Who the quack needs logic to defend naturalism? Ducks off.
Based on the bones, as you can see by the bones.
I think it's it hits the target very precisely and doesn't force you to say a lot about things you don't really have to say a lot about. And that definition is that you are a naturalist if you
Elizabeth Warren looking rough these days.
reject the idea that there are disembodied minds. Right? So that leaves the naturalist, and I myself take full advantage of this freedom to believe that there are abstract things like universals and propositions and numbers and all kinds of goodies like that, so long as I think they play an essential role in putting together a sensible picture of the world.
No. See what they do now? This is how broken their view is. They're so inconsistent. Naturalism is a pretty rigorously defined view. Like, he just grants himself abstractions, universals, which can't be explained by naturalism. So if naturalism is the position that, everything that exists can be best explained by natural processes, laws of physics, regularity of nature, right? These kinds of things. He just granted himself a whole slew of things that can't be explained by naturalism. So he's like, oh, yeah, I'm a naturalist, but, I like to take a less strict approach to it and just grant myself supernatural things.
And it leaves me with a whole lot of wiggle room with respect to any number of things. But all I have to reject is that there are disembodied minds.
No, that's so lazy. No. Just redefine naturalism as simply not holding to the idea of disembodied minds. Hey, listen, guy. From a naturalistic view, you don't have a mind. There is no mind, as I pretty well established with 1 minute with Matt Dillahunty, the consequences of naturalism, is that you don't have a mind. There is no mind.
Right. So in that sense, it's like a stronger claim.
Ah! Warn me, bruh.
Then
warn me.
Atheism, right?
You can't say there's a soul that escapes the body, right? And it's not a material thing. You can't say that there are angels or demons.
No, you can't say there's information. You can't say that there's anything that exists that doesn't hold or fit the criterion for naturalistic explanation. If it can't be explained by nature, naturalism, by what we see in nature, you have no good reason to believe it exists.
Dr. Fossil's disciple.
So, you see how inconsistent these people are? Really primitive thinkers, these guys. And these are the leading philosophers of atheism. It's a joke. Information not found in nature can't be explained by nature. Meaning, not found in nature, can't be explained by nature. Laws of logic, not found in nature, can't be explained by natural processes. Evaluations, you can't find it in nature, can't be explained by natural processes. Mathematics, geometry. The list goes on. Knowledge itself. What's the status of knowledge, guys? You're sitting here on a podcast talking about knowledge, right? You're all these evolutionary theorists and philosophers and big thinkers, right? You guys aren't big thinkers. You guys are primitive monkey thinkers. The irony is that you guys all think religion is archaic. No. Even from an evolutionary view, the kind of mind that crafts from their view a religious paradigm is advanced. You guys ever think about this? It's actually advanced. That religious development itself, downstream from an evolutionary view, is an advantage. The lie of religion actually serves as an advantage to evolutionary development and survival. Stupid, man. 1 hour and 44 minutes. Okay, I'll probably try to revisit that. I feel like Justin kind of summarized it good, but we can check it in a bit.
For that matter, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Now, I actually, but this would be a complete tangent and irrelevant to the present argument. I actually think there could be disembodied minds, but that's, it's very misleading to say that, because if I were to spell it out, you'd say, oh, well, maybe that's...
They look defeated. They might be sad. They definitely look defeated.
It's not such a crazy idea. But it has nothing to do with gods or souls.
Well, let's keep the conversation focused on the God question then. Alex, why don't you kick us off on this first thesis, like that naturalism sort of implies evolution or Darwinian evolution? I mean, that seems sort of reasonable given our background knowledge, doesn't it? Given that that's what the evidence we have is.
Well, I think it's reasonable to believe both. That, believe naturalism, which, like we just heard then...
Alex still doesn't understand. What's a belief in naturalism? Alex, what's the ontology of a belief? Singular belief. What is a belief? Alex, under naturalism, what is a belief? You keep not answering this question when I ask you, buddy. Send your money, you mooks. Thank you so much, Austin. Appreciate you, buddy. Ruthless plumber.
Naturalism just means there's no disembodied minds. Okay, great. And also believing in...
No. That's such a stupid... Where did you get this definition, you guys? You guys are such weasels. They just weasel and weasel. Where's this definition? Hold on a second. Watch. Naturalism, philosophy. Philosophical naturalism, which is it? Methodological naturalism, they're both tied together. The worldview that only natural laws and forces operate in the universe. Well, we're going to just redefine it in a sneaky little pig snake fashion. We're going to just redesign and re-establish a definition that naturalism is simply the rejection of disembodied minds.
In evolution, those two things come as a relatively comfortable 2-for-1 kind of thing. But obviously, one doesn't entail the other one, because before Darwin, there were naturalists. There were people who didn't believe in disembodied minds. So obviously they didn't, it wasn't implied.
This is so dishonest, guys.
Jimbob has the best hairline in this lineup. Plus 5 points to Combs.
Thank you. Alex, I'll say it one more time, buddy. Naturalism can't be simply defined as the rejection of disembodied minds, because under naturalism, Alex, listen up closely, caterpillar eyes. There's no justification for what you call a mind under naturalism. There's just a brain. Mind you, he has a PhD in your Jimbob. I know. I mean, the fact that a PhD can get manhandled by just a guy named Jimbob who has no philosophical training.
By their view that they believed in evolution.
There's no mind, Alex. So forget disembodied mind. The naturalist can't tell you what a mind is.
It's just that now, since Darwin came along and, explained how we can understand like morphological changes over vast periods of time and stuff, It just seems like a very reasonable thing to believe, right? If you're I mean, so I'm not sure.
God seems like a reasonable thing to believe.
I mean, maybe I'm missing something. Is there anything that's stronger, that actually an entailment between naturalism and evolution? It just feels like if you're a naturalist,
Yes.
great, and anybody should think that Darwinian evolution is broadly true because there's so much evidence, right? Even if
Okay, cool. I'll give it to you, Alex, because you ignored it the first time I delivered it against Planet Peterson. It's simply this, Alex. Listen up, Alex. I know you'll see this. If evolution is true and naturalism, right, is downstream from a strict materialistic natural process, everything that's occurring is downstream from just physical processes. Specifically, evolution in regards to biological processes. If everything is an event in motion, listen up, everybody in the chat, especially you atheists. If everything is matter in motion, and it's true that no events are truth-apt. There's not a physical event that's truth-apt. Chemicals are not truth-apt. They just occur. Tornadoes aren't truth-apt. There's no true giraffe. You don't say the giraffe is true. Okay? So, if naturalism is true and evolution was true, then the thing you call thinking or believing or statements would just be physical events. And if they're physical events, if you agree that physical events on their own are not truth-apt, they don't have the quality of being true or false. They just are. And your own thinking and your own evaluations are just extended events, physical events in the world. You don't have a distinction for something called a thought or an evaluation or a proposition that's distinct in category from a tornado or a blade of grass. So, the entailment, Alex, for the last time, is you don't have access to truth. There's no truth available. Beliefs are not, they're just material events. Belief is a material event, a nominal one.
if you're a theist, you should believe in evolution as well, right? So am I missing something that there's any, does Plantinga think there's any kind of particular connection between naturalism and Darwinian evolution other than that? It's the only game in town because it's very well supported.
It's well supported. It's amazing how you question Beg and you call yourself a philosopher. It's well supported. What does that mean? What does it mean? If naturalism and evolution are true, what you call well supported, Alex Malpass, is a brain activity giving you the illusion that something's, quote, well supported. It's a meaningless statement, man. These people are such fools.
Evidently.
They're such fools.
It seems like Dan, do you agree?
I mean, I would call in and wreck all of these people. 4-on-1.
I think he takes us to be part of our background knowledge. And if you do take evolution to be part of our background knowledge, then all parties to the debate should be committed to it. And then the question is whether
you have an early life section.
That this question about knowledge, is knowledge more compatible with naturalism or with theism?
See what I'm saying? They just hear the word knowledge, right? Justify true belief. There's no justification or ontological category they have for under naturalism called that knowledge belongs to. They just refuse to get this over and over again. My own chat, we're a bunch of dum-dums. We didn't go to philosophy school. We don't have PhDs, most of us. And we understand, even the most lay person understands, oh yeah, that makes sense. They keep referring to things like knowledge, which is not made of physical things and not explained by natural processes. You can't find a natural process that includes knowledge in the natural process. Where is it? What is it? So what we're saying by knowledge, we're just sort of granting ourselves, right, some sort of maybe JTB or JTB plus, and we just grant ourselves some object that doesn't actually exist at all.
Given that you have evolution as part of our background knowledge.
You could think of it.
I have background knowledge that there's 7 left on this goal with 7 minutes left.
It's a particularly strong form of argument to the best explanation. Strong in the sense that so far as someone committed to naturalism is concerned, it's really the only remotely plausible explanation.
Right. They just keep asserting it.
There are no really live alternatives to it.
He's just saying stuff. And they're all yesing. Oh, yes, reassert Reassert it.
Yes, in principle, the theist could say, well, I have another potential explanation, which is God made everything.
It's not about making, brah. Alex Malpass, here's a true dilemma that you've never dealt with, but you keep hearing about. Alex Malpass, you're the head honcho in philosophy right now in these circles. Maybe you and that other the Australian guy. Okay, Graham Oppie or whatever his name is, Grand Old Opry. Alex, please tell me if this is a true dilemma. Either knowledge is theonomous, that it's God justifies knowledge and we get our knowledge from God, or it's autonomous. Well, if that's not a true dilemma, give me a third option. If it is a true dilemma, which it is, guess what, Alex Malpass? The autonomous position is self-refuting because it's nominal and it leads to relativism. So any argument from the nominal position, any argument about truth and knowledge from a position that it's autonomous and built up by particulars, then all you're saying is there's a nominal population, basically, which is kind of a contradiction, of minds. Another contradiction, because minds would be a nominal thing. Your mind produces something you think is true, another mind produces it, and you just go on believing the illusion that you're building up knowledge from the bottom up, as opposed to a theonomous view, which is necessitates a revelatory system, and then also necessitates a discovery. And if you believe that knowledge is discovered, well, then knowledge has to have some ontology to be discovered, Alex Malpass. If you believe knowledge is autonomous and built up from the ground up by particulars, then there's no discovery. It's just a fiction. It's a construct. Post-hole digger? Yeah, well, you're doing better than most of these PhDs, Eli.
Instead, whereas the naturalist has to sort of shrug his shoulders and say, well, I don't know. Or maybe evolution.
Oppie would make you his child in philosophy discussion? No, he wouldn't. I would completely destroy him on this very point. And by the way, Oppie actually does tag argument. He just replaces a being with a mind with a necessary, what he calls a necessary being, which is just a state of affairs. So you don't know what you're talking about. Not even close. I've seen his arguments. He just grants himself an ambiguous, a nebulous initial state. And by the way, the initial state, when when he's pressed on what the initial state is, he can't actually reduce this initial state to something that could be examined or understood from strictly post-initial state ways of talking about it, which, coincidentally sounds a lot like the mystery of the Trinity.
But
That's all you're seeing, David. You're just seeing a replacement of the tag argument in Graham Oppie's philosophy, and he's just replacing God, necessary being, with intent, who can create, eternally uncreated, and he says the necessary swap out for that is simply an initial state. That's all. He's not that advanced.
You
think he's that advanced because he has a shitty Australian accent and he blinks a lot?
Sort of alternative. Is that the idea? Whereas a theist does. In principle, he could at least say, on my worldview or whatever, God could have made all the animals.
React allegedly, and I can't listen to his voice. I feel like everyone gets AIDS from a distance.
Exactly as they were 6,000 years ago or something. And in that sense, it's not the only game in town for a theist in principle. Is that the idea?
It seems that way to me. I think it seems like the key part is the unguided nature of it.
Yeah.
So, imagine
I think there's
possibly even be defended.
Okay. Yeah, by the way, unguided, as I established with one simple question to Not a Professor Dave, and he went crazy for like 3 weeks after because his brain exploded, is that he admitted from the evolutionary view, listen up, David, from the evolutionary view, all your brain and your function of your brain to think, which is an extension of Plantinga's contention, is incidental. It's not actually purposeful. Like, there's no purpose for your brain to actually think, the same way there's no purpose for the evolutionary process to produce truth. It's the same extension. You guys don't deal with it ever. This arrogance is insane. You're the one who's arrogant. You're the one who's... You just told me in a chat he would turn me into my child. His child. You fucking dickhead. They always come in with their arrogance, and when we clap back at them, they're like, "You're so arrogant. Do you want to look at your first chat? You little demon chode."
And it seems obvious, I think,
Bunch of inconsistent little retards.
to a lot of people that, well, evolution will just give you, reasonably reliable beliefs, because if it didn't, you wouldn't survive. Now, presumably, if Plantinga's...
Hey, David, would you like to call in with your loud mouth? We can put a pause to this review if you want to actually take the position. Would you like to? Because I'm hungry! You little shithead.
thought of that. I mean, could you unpack, like, how could it be, how does Plantinga defend the idea that you could have false beliefs but still sort of survive and reproduce?
He does have these
Holy
somewhat,
COVID boosters. Holy 95 injections.
one might think artificial
Holy Moderna face.
examples in which you can take advantage of the fact that practical reasoning involves two types of input. It involves...
Don't get me crazy, man. 4 out of 10 chats, you're going to get angry, Jimbob.
certain factual input.
He won't call in. No, he just nominates other people, right? You should call in my daddy, Grandmoppy, who's going to turn you into his child. Okay, what's your view? I don't have one. I don't have one. I got no position on this. My brain is just a function of determined physics and chemistry, but here I am in the chat. It's like, shut up, dude. Hey, look, it's Marty. If you read from the OSB, you read from a Protestant translated Bible, that's a fallacy. That's a fallacy. You're saying because Protestants translated the Bible, therefore you're appealing to Protestant theology? No, that's retarded. You could have an atheist translate the Bible, dummy. Marty misleads, you big dum-dum head, you Gnostic Down syndrome. Did you know that there were people who existed that translated the Bible and that were Protestant, therefore you appeal to Protestant view? No, that doesn't follow. That's called a non sequitur, Marty. Go do some math in your yurt. Heretic. I should put an echo. Heretic. When does being cautious of sensory experience liturgy turn into me acting ignorant? What do I use to interpret my experience? Well, don't go there yet. Don't even get to that point. First, go to liturgy. Because it's going to be the theology and the paradigm that guide what you're experiencing. So that's the answer. What do you use to interpret your experience? The Holy Tradition. You're going to use that as a reference. You know, the mechanism for interpretation is your mind, soul, your faculties, right? But your mind and heart, of course. We don't deny that. But insofar as what you're being guided in understanding what you're experiencing, it's going to be the 2,000 years of tradition through that lens. That's how you get it. What does the theist believe from a bunch of atheists? Yeah, exactly.
And it involves having certain aims or goals or desires. And the question is that you're...
By the way, Marty, your comment was so retarded that according to you, if you read anything that's interpreted by some modern position or modern culture, and they interpret even old, early Gnostic doctrine or documents, right? If they were translated by someone who's not a Gnostic, suddenly your argument is against yourself, right, Marty? I mean, talk about pre-less maxing. I don't know anyone, at least at the level that I understand and even interacted with Marty Leeds, anyone who is at hyperdrive pre-less than Marty Leeds.
What you're asking yourself is, given the facts, given the circumstances,
it is hell. It is. This is what hell looks like.
And given what I want, or want the most, what's the best way to get it, right? And that involves having certain types of causal knowledge and so on. Well, but because there are these two independent factors, you can imagine cases where somebody has crazy beliefs and crazy desires, which, when combined by luck, lead you
Goodness gracious, this guy. Are you going to challenge Plantinga's main contention or not?
to behaviors that actually do preserve your life, even though that's not what, not the way that you yourself arrive at the action that you're going to perform.
And by the way, usually when we make the correlation, at least against progressives, about the trend of being just generally theist and reproduction, that the theist, the God believer, believing, according to the atheist, a false belief that it's a virtue to reproduce, they believe something that's false, and it actually is an advantage to them, evolutionarily speaking. And this is why it's so funny to watch all the atheists and the progressives move very rapidly against having children, but even when they can conceive, they actually murder their own children. And they think they're a part of the truth community. They're like, yo, no, I believe in evolution because it's science-based. Let's kill our offspring. Yeah. Okay, so it turns out that the lie, according to your guys' view, the lie of theism, the lie of Christianity, actually catalyzes, and in being informed by that psychological state of belief in something false, according to you, actually produces more human beings, actually creates survival for human beings. Isn't that interesting? Jimbob can barely handle debates with Planet Peterson, but he thinks he destroyed Oppie in a debate. You got nothing to say, dude. All you have is daddies to argue for you. You notice how I'm the one who debates here? You're the one who's like, Planet Peterson and Oppie, and I'm a cheerleader. Planet Peterson? Look, I got Planet Peterson very early on in most of our debates. He absolutely got destroyed the first time I debated him on evolution. He just conceded that you don't need an experiment to determine what causes scurvy. He just says, look at more data. That was the end of it for him. He couldn't bring evolution through the scientific method, period. Then the next one on naturalism, he admitted that things like beliefs, there are no true or false beliefs. They're just effects of physics. You don't even know how to gauge a debate, David.
So, you may...
God sent bears to kill 30 kids? Well, no, that's a mistranslation. You're retarded. And by the way, what's wrong with that? See what I'm saying? Get him out of here, actually. You debate TikTokers? What do you mean? I debate TikTokers? I don't debate TikTokers. I'm very rarely on TikTok, and if I am, I'm doing a character. So what are you saying? What TikToker did I debate? What are you talking about? Is Planet Peterson a TikToker also? Planet Peterson debates on TikTok, and you just referred to him as someone that I can't handle. What are you talking about? I'm not a TikTok debater, no. I debate PhDs.
Jimbob, half black. Hey Marty, the introduction to the Orthodox Study Bible explains that it uses Septuagint translated Old Testament from St. Athanasius Academy, and the New Testament is the King James Version but has notes at the bottom show the major variants in the majority text and the critical text. Try again, you pecker.
Yeah, try again, pecker.
You may want to be eaten by a tiger and believe that, I think this is one of his actual examples, and believe that running away as fast as you can and climbing a tree is the best way to get eaten by a tiger. Well, you put those two together and you get an action which is just the thing that might save your life from the tiger. Right?
What about the belief that you're going to go to heaven, like you have a concept of heaven even before Christianity, like some notion of the eternal, and you believe that surviving is a good thing, that's the best way, like there's some correlation between living a long time and this eternal concept in your head? Is that, if that aided to your concern about survival, would that be a good thing even though it's a lie?
Then, of course, you might ask yourself the question, well, is there any reason to believe, given the circumstances of evolution, that someone would come up with the notion that the best way to get eaten by a tiger is to run toward them? to run away from them. And
Oh gosh, you're just have your pudding, dude. You're just a mess.
reality of
Oh my gosh, I can't take this. All right, let's get to Alex. Is seemingly the only one who can string along sentences.
And something could be advantageous for survival, even if it's got absolutely no connection to truth. So it could be that it aids your survival to believe something like I want to get eaten by, or have a desire that I want to get eaten by a lion, if it involves me mistakenly thinking the best way to realize that is by running.
How about this? How about this? A really simple one, you guys. You guys are belaboring this. You're making it unwatchable.